Mayhem isn't just for one, it's for all. Those were the words from Steve Maclin as TNA Wrestling crossed that line again on AMC and TNA Plus and brought us another action-packed episode of Impact Wrestling. But we kick off TNA Impact this week with a great tag team match. The Hardys against the young upstarts, Sinner and Saint. And I tell you what, this was short and sweet, but great match for Sinner and Saint to come out and showcase their talents, even if it was a little bit one-sided with the Hardys on this one. Matt and Jeff are always good to watch. However, they of course win the contest with the Spinal Destination finisher, which Jeff Hardy, the new submission that Jeff's been working on, which he spoke about on my good buddy the I Love Wrestling podcast with Justin Woolwine. Um, but it was the actions of the Hardys afterwards that got people talking. Now the Hardys had won the match. Um, but at the end of the match, Jeff Hardy plants Judas Icarius with another Swanton bomb after they had won the match. And then when Williams helped Icarius back to his feet, both teams then shook hands. But it was weird for Jeff to do the Swanton bomb afterwards. And I don't know, that was out of character. Are the righteous getting into the Hardys' heads here now? Are we starting to see the shift in the Hardys? And that's a question that we'll no doubt will answer down the line. But it does seem to have a little bit of an attitude switch there. Yes, they shook hands after the Swanton bomb, and the Hardys get some much needed momentum going into Sacrifice. But why did he do the Swanton bomb after the match? Question we'll have to wait and see for, that's for sure. But nevertheless, Hardys pick up the victory with 2 weeks to go until TNA Sacrifice on the 27th of March, which of course you can watch live on TNA Plus. Get it downloaded, get subscribed, and get that $9.99 package to give you everything. Now, the Elegance brand were backstage ahead of Mr. Elegance's big debut next week, his wrestling debut next week on TNA Impact. And they were taking shots at ODB, they were taking shots at Mickey James. Um, However, as they insulted Gia Miller, the former knockout star Goldilocks appears and she confronts the Elegance brand. And as much as Mr. Elegance tries to knock her by saying, "Didn't you used to work here?" Um, she was just like, "Quiet, the adults are speaking," which I thought was quite interesting. And then that's when they all walked out. But nice to see Goldilocks. It's been a while in there. But Mr. Elegance debuts next week, wrestling in-ring debut of Mr. Elegance live next Thursday on TNA Impact on AMC and AMC Plus. Looking forward to see what Mr. Elegance can bring to the party, shall we say. Another knockout that was in action this week, Indy Hartwell. She picked up a really fast, well, really easy victory, to be honest, over Kelsey Heather with the Hurt Donor. However, again, this was more about what happened after. And afterwards, Indy Hartwell took that microphone and said she came here to win the TNA Knockouts Championship. She also said that Ariana Grace doesn't deserve the Knockouts Championship, which she currently holds. And she challenges Ariana Grace to a match. Um, but Ariana Grace comes out and basically says, get to the back of the line, which because there's plenty of other knockouts that are ahead of her in the queue. Well, Indy didn't take too kindly to that, and she said that Ariana was manipulating her father to secure the match in the first place. And she's on a whole different level than Ariana Grace, and she will find out sooner or later because she's going to win the Knockout Championship. I thought she was going to win it last year, to be quite honest with you. And I did say that I kind of felt that maybe that time had passed her by a little bit with the knockouts that come in, with Danny Luna coming back to, well, Danny Luna showing the world what she can do, really, more than anything else. And I don't know, will she get her opportunity at Sacrifice in a couple of weeks' time? Perhaps that she will. And will then Indy Hartwell be able to claim that Knockouts Championship? Tessa Blanchard out of the picture, really, in the Knockouts division right now. More of the tag, she's more in the tag division than she is the Knockouts Championship. Maybe there's reasons for that. I don't know. Um, but I still think Tessa Blanchard is the best knockout there. But I wouldn't begrudge Indy Hartwell the Knockouts Championship. I thought she was going to win it last year. It didn't materialize. Hopefully now, if the Knockouts Championship match does get signed for Sacrifice, hopefully we'll see Indy Hartwell pick up the gold. Now, we mentioned earlier about the Hardys, and I said about that Swanton Bomb. Well, they were backstage with the Righteous, and Matt was thanking them for everything they've done for them so far. And they did reference Jeff Hardy taken out with the Swanton Bomb and said they were just giving the young tag teams a chance. I'm not quite sure, what they mean by that, to be quite honest with you. But nevertheless, as the Righteous continued with the Hardys, the Nemeth show up and they mocked the newly found alliance between them. And Vincent then warns them to watch their mouths or they will have trouble with the Righteous. Don't quite think they're the team that you want to get on the wrong side of, to be honest with you. Speaking of the Righteous, you can watch their interview exclusively on this channel. Right in the playlist, we have a new TNA exclusive section, which next week will bring you another TNA exclusive with a man we're going to be talking about in a minute. Mr. First Class himself, AJ Francis, will appear on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast next week. So make sure you check that out when it drops. We had some great action here now. Trey Miguel, BDE, and Rich Swann were going against Order 4. Order 4 with a new theme song, Ali with a new haircut at the same time. This was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This was an explosive six-man tag. I really, really enjoyed it. BDE since coming into TNA has been on a bit of a losing streak. Teaming with Rich Swann. They haven't quite got it together as a team yet. With Trey Miguel at ringside, or if Trey Miguel was a partner though, you was expecting things to change, and they certainly did change. Trey Miguel hit the lightning spiral on John Skyler for the victory. But again, it was something that happened after the fact. They'll point out Mustafa Ali hands Trey Miguel the international championship, and I wonder whether we are going to get an international championship match between Ali and Trey Miguel. If we are, that is going to be one hell of a contest, and I would love to see it. Maybe Sacrifice, who knows? 2 weeks away from NOLA, New Orleans. Cannot wait for that one. Now, will we see that international championship match take place at Sacrifice? I hope so. I really, really hope so. But great win. A great win for the three. And BDE finally picks up. Okay, he didn't get the pinfall, but he gets a dub next to his name, probably for the first time since teaming with Rich Swann at least, and probably one of the first times in TNA. But much needed for both of those. And Trey Miguel, the steam train that is Trey Miguel, keeps rolling on TNA. It's really good to see. Now, later on in the show, Steve Maclin is going to issue his apology. Yeah. Anyway, but the suit, Daria Ray, had a warning from Mike Santana, basically saying you cannot get involved. If you do lay a hand on Steve Maclin, you will be stripped of the championship. Now, Santana Marella then comes out and he gets into a bit of a squabble with Daria. And then Steve Maclin appears and engage, and there was a real tense look about the stare off between him and Santino Marella. He's got to deliver his apology um a bit later on, and well, very much soon, shall we say, on TNA. He's heading to the ring to do so. But before we get to the ring, Indy Hartwell and Ariana Grace. Now, Ariana Grace she was complaining about the knockouts lining up to challenge her for the title, and she spots Indy Hartwell nearby. Stacks then whispers something into Grace's ear and tells the person talking to Indy Hartwell to go away. And he distracts her long enough for Ariana Grace to strike her with the championship. That's when Santino shows back up. He orders Stacks to leave and tries to get medical help for Indy Hartwell. Wonder now if we're going to rekindle the Ariana Grace Santino Marella father-daughter issues. Because, before the championship match, they were kind of off on the wrong foot. She low blowed him after TNA won their cage match against NXT. I wonder what's going to happen there. But now it's time for Mr. Mayhem to issue his apology. He did start by thanking Daria Ray for reinstating him. And then he, well, apologized to Tom Hannifan. Um, and he did mock him for failing to take a punch to the gut. And that basically reminded the audience why Steve Maclin is a former champion and Tom Hannifan sits behind a desk. He did go on to mention that backstage politics cost him the championship before, and then decided to bring up about their fathers. Both their fathers have passed away. Steve Maclin says, "You had a great life with your father. I can't even remember what mine sounds like because I didn't get that opportunity." He talks about his time serving the country as well. But he did say that it's when Maclin for one, Mayhem for all. And that's how it kind of ended. And he did brains to win the World Heavyweight Championship at sacrifice from Mike Santana. So strong words from Steve Maclin this week. Mr. Mayhem will be back. Well, he's back in TNA more so than ever, as is AJ Francis, who's re-signed this week. Just before he spoke to me, funnily enough. And on top of that, he was in action against Elijah, uh, which was actually a really good action. And to be honest, like I said, and I said this to him on the interview, that how he always over delivers, and he does, and he did it again today. He took the Drift Destroyer from Elijah. Now, a point to make here was Frankie Kazarian was on commentary. He was on form as ever on commentary, I might add. He's Frankie Kazarian. I don't know if he's going to win when he cashes in that championship. I'm not sure, but he's definitely a guy that needs to be around TNA for a long time still because he's still got it. He's great on commentary. He's great in the ring, and it was great to hear him on comms. But now he didn't stay on comms. He distracts Elijah enough for AJ Francis to hit the down payment chokeslam, pick up the victory. Then they start to beat him up. Generally, both of them 2-on-1 before the hometown man in his hometown comes out and evens up the odds. And I wonder if we're moving to sacrifice at Nola in the hometown man's hometown, maybe for a tag team contest. Or whether that'll be next week. Who knows? Who knows? Now, Eric Young had a message for Leon Slater. He sort of asked if he was okay after his attack on Slater last week, and that sacrifice, it is official. TNA X Division Championship, Leon Slater 1-on-1 with Eric Young. Will the cleanse have its day on Leon Slater? We'll find out in 2 weeks on Sacrifice. Like I said, TNA Plus, get it downloaded, get subscribed, 9.99 a month, and you will get the lot. TNA, you will get the pay-per-views, you'll get the special shows like Sacrifice, you'll get the Bound for Glories, and you'll get the archives as well. Now, remember last week, Rosemary showed up and re-signed with TNA, and she was talking to someone about the next phase. Well, this week, Johnny Swinger and JDC, and he was wearing a top that said retired. They were backstage. Um, and he seems to be taking Singer and Saint under his wing a little bit here. After they lost at the poker table as well, by the way, which was hilarious. Um, but it was the end of this because the end saw the return of Ali, aka the Bunny, returning from the dead and trying to get to be able to talk again. So they're bringing up the fact that she was killed off, and now Rosemary's helping her be able to talk again to make it sound like she's normal. This is absolutely outrageous. I love this. It's so great to see Ali back as well after so long away. She was at obviously AEW. She's been away from wrestling for quite a while, so it was really good to see the bunny back in TNA. And maybe we'll see. Well, we'll see what happens next week because it's to be continued again. So we've got some more to come from Rosemary and Ali. There was an interesting picture that Raven put out this week, and it was him and both of them, and that was before Impact aired. So, you know, it was interesting to see that. That kind of gave it away a little bit, but it was still great to finally see the bunny back in TNA. Congratulations, Ali. Hopefully, more to come. Right, speaking of more to come, a big debut on TNA. Ricky Sosa. He was going against Brad Attitude. This was an incredible debut for Ricky Sosa. The great news is they kept the theme song. His theme song is kind of what makes him, not makes him as in he's extremely talented, but when wrestlers come, it's like Cody Rhodes when he jumped back to WWE, he had to have Kingdom, right? He couldn't have gone back to his old, so he had to have Kingdom. When you bring Ricky Sosa in, he has to have um, the theme. It was brilliant, and it was also good because he went viral for that theme song. For those people that don't know him, so you need to check it out. Um, it was brilliant. And I thought this was great. He's making waves everywhere he goes. 21 years old. If you think about Leon Slater's, Ricky Sosa is up there with the Leon Slaters of this world, and he's making such a big boom, literally, in the independent scene. And TNA, Carlos Silva might need to get that checkbook out very, very soon to get him in to TNA permanently. He had a great match. He partly Brad Attitude, easy for me to say, with the Blue Thunder bang, and bang bang Ricky Sosa picks up the victory. Next week on Impact, the hometown man versus Frankie Kazarian. We've got the Angel Warrior Zaya Brooks on Lei Ying Lee take on Ariana Grace and Danny Luna. Mr. Elegance will make his Impact debut. We have Jada Stone versus Elena Black. Moose versus Brian Myers. And the Righteous will face the Nemeths. All next week on AMC. But we haven't finished yet. There is a Atlanta street fight in the main event between Moose and Cedric Alexander. This was absolutely brilliant. Go out of your way to watch this. There was trash cans, there was tables, there was everything you can imagine. It was crazy. Obviously, Moose is systematically going after all of the system right now, and he's trying to take them out one by one. And well, he's trying to send a clear message to the system. And Moose got power bombed onto a trash can on this as well. It was a crazy match. However, it was a spear from Moose to Cedric Alexander through the table that was placed in the corner that picks up the victory. And Alicia Edwards was there. I'm still convinced Alicia Edwards is going to turn on Moose at the end of this and realign with Eddie Edwards. What a show! It was solid from top to bottom this week. Six-man tag was a delight. Ricky Sosa's in-ring debut, and of course, the street fight. Um, it was great to see also that they continued the bit with Ali. Obviously, she was dead. She had her throat sliced on the video that I forgot to mention, where she was killed last time. So they brought that back, and they brought that back to. It's not just like she's returned and that's it. She was brought back literally from the dead with the scar. It was great that the way they carried it on from TNA. What a great week for TNA wrestling. What a busy week it's been for us as well. So many interviews that have been done this week. We thank everyone that's coming on. Next week is just as busy with interviews. We're going back down under for TNA. AJ Francis will drop next week. That's already been done. There's going to be so much stuff coming on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. So follow us, HTT Buckle, everywhere. Watch TNA Wrestling, AMC, AMC Plus in the States, Sports Center 360 in Canada, and download TNA Plus over here in the UK. Get it downloaded, get subscribed, $9.99. TNA, the special shows like Sacrifice, the big PLEs like Genesis and Bound for Glory and Slammiversary, and the access to the archives where you can watch the likes of AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, and a younger looking Frankie Kazarian. We'll be back next week with another Impact Wrestling as we move towards Sacrifice. But until then, cross the line, stay safe, and goodbye.